Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Arundhati Ramnan, and here's wishing all of our viewers a very Merry Christmas. These are the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Sensex and Nifty fail to hold early gains and end with marginal losses. Mid-caps see sharper cuts. Rupee weakens against the dollar and moves closer to the 90 mark. Gold's golden run continues as the yellow metal touches new highs for the 51st time this year, registers its highest annual gain since 1979, clocks returns of 71%. Silver and platinum touch new highs. IT stocks decline after US overhauls the lottery system for H-1B visas to prioritize higher paid and higher skilled workers. A US judge also upholds the $100,000 fee on H-1B visas, rejecting a challenge from big tech companies. Energy giant BP will sell 65% stake in Castrol to investment firm Stonepeak for $6 billion. BP values Castrol at $10 billion and retains a 20% stake. Castrol India shares rally after Stonepeak announces a tender offer for shareholders. Sunil Mittal's Bharti Enterprises and PE giant Warburg Pincus to collectively pick up 49% stake in home appliances major Haier India. Reports peg the deal at around 15,000 crore rupees. China-based Haier Group will retain 49% stake post the transaction, while Haier India's management team will hold remaining the 2%. The Piramal family sells 26% stake in luggage maker VIP Industries to private equity firm Multiples through block deals. Multiples also announces a mandatory open offer for additional 26% stake. The Piramal family will continue to hold a 20% stake. Shares of VIP rally in trade. Delhi air quality improves slightly but hovers in the poor category. Delhi High Court hears a PIL seeking directions to classify air purifiers as medical devices, directs GST Council to consider slashing its GST rate. Union Minister Gadkari says he develops a throat infection if he stays in Delhi for 2 days. Union Cabinet approves 12,000 crore rupees to expand the Delhi Metro. The fifth phase of expansion will add one new station and take the network past 400 kilometers. Russian strikes on Ukraine's energy grid leaves thousands without electricity on the eve of Christmas. 3 people, including 2 traffic police officers, killed in Moscow after a second car explosion this week. The Thackeраys bury the hatchet 20 years after going separate ways. Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray join hands to announce an alliance just days before the civic body elections in Mumbai. ISRO's heaviest rocket till date blasts off to space. The rocket is carrying a US communications satellite weighing 6,100 kilograms. We will come to all of that and much more in just a bit. But first to Dalal Street, which failed to hold opening gains to end near the day's low. All key indices end in the red. Nifty closed below the 26,150 mark, dragged lower by Reliance and IT stocks. Mid-caps underperformed the blue chips, with that index falling over 0.5%. In the money market, the rupee weakened by over 13 paise against the dollar as it moves closer to the 90 mark once again. 10-year bond prices rallied in trade after RBI announced government bond purchase worth 2 lakh crore rupees and a $10 billion forex swap. The record run in commodities continues as geopolitical tensions fuel safe haven buying. Gold smashes records for the 51st time this year, clocking its largest annual gain since 1979, with returns of 71% in 2025. Silver and platinum follow suit, hitting fresh record highs yet again. Manisha Gupta is here with all of those details. Manisha?
Oh yes, 2025 shone and sparkled with the kind of all-time highs that we saw in gold, silver, platinum, copper and a multi-year highs in various other metals as well. I'll start with silver first because it has been making all-time highs on a regular basis now, has gained up by 40% in last 1 month. It is up by 150% in last 1 year. So we have seen silver prices start with this year with 29.5. It's trading at 72.5 right now. The Indian silver prices started with 87,000. It's trading at 2,30,000 right now. So that's the kind of run-up that we have seen, because it's a fifth straight year of deficit, this one, and the next 2 years could be deficit as well. Industrial demand is strong, so is the investment demand via ETFs, and physical buying has all taken the silver prices on the higher side, with expectations that you could be looking at higher highs in next year. Talk about gold then, and all-time highs onto this one. 51 times is what gold has done, made an all-time high in this year. We are up by 72% on this one. Very strong central bank buying. Dollar index has multi-month highs. We also are looking at geopolitical tensions, whether it's about US, Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, all of that supportive. And add to that the fact that the central bank buying has been very, very on the stronger side there. Platinum, it's a third year of deficit onto this one. Platinum is up by 163% in this year. It also is about very strong Chinese buying in platinum in sense of bars and coins. China also started platinum futures trading in this year, as further elevating the prices therein. And then it's about copper, all-time highs yet again here, $12,000 a ton on LME. Copper is also trading at all-time highs in China, in US and the Indian markets also. There are mining concerns in Chile, Peru and Indonesia supporting prices. And then there are tariff concerns. US also already is levying 50% tariffs on semi-finished copper products. US is looking at, or reiterated, that they will put tariffs also on copper grade ore when it comes to copper in the first quarter of 2026, also supporting prices from where we stand.
So that record run in commodities is continuing. Thank you so much for those details, Manisha. Shifting focus to the United States, the Department of Homeland Security has announced an overhaul of the long-standing lottery system for H-1B visas. It will replace it with a weighted selection model that prioritizes higher paid and higher skilled workers. The new change will take effect from February 27th and will apply to the FY 2027 H-1B registration season. Currently, around 70% of all H-1B visas are issued to entry-level and qualified wage workers, while only 30% of visas are issued to highly paid skilled workers. In a separate development, a U.S. judge upheld a $100,000 fee to process H-1B visa applications. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, a lobby group that represents big tech companies, had challenged the fee announced in September. However, the judge ruled that the Trump administration's move is lawful. Stocks from the IT pack like Infosys, TCS and Wipro declined in today's trading session following the H-1B visa overhaul announcement. Rima Tendulkar joins us now with all of those details. Rima, how is this move likely to impact the Indian IT ecosystem going forward?
So indeed, there is a big change to the H-1B selection process, but the business impact on Indian IT is going to be very, very minimal. So first, let's get to the news. Now, earlier, the H-1B visa selection worked on pure random lottery. So whether you are an entry-level worker or a highly specialized engineer, your chances of getting H-1B visa was the same. But because there were far more applicants or applications for the entry-level workforce, they just got a disproportionately large share of H-1B visa. This, according to the US, was an abuse and resulted in low wage import. So now they're planning to change it. So instead of the random lottery system, they are moving towards a weighted system of selection where the weight will be assigned based on your wages and your skill. It basically means that higher your wage, higher the skill, higher the probability of you getting an H-1B visa. So this is negative news, especially at the entry level. US wants to encourage getting in only specialized workers and use the H-1B quota for them. Now coming to the impact on the Indian IT companies. For the last many years, Indian IT companies have been reducing the dependence on H-1B visa. And this started during the Trump term one, where rejection rates went up, processing, documentation, all of that became very tedious. So as of now, based on the Q2 numbers, when we spoke to the management, TCS said that, about 500 employees traveled on H-1B. Infosys said minority, that's the number. HCL Tech, a few hundred. Wipro said 250 H-1B visas were sponsored over the last 5 years. Tech Mahindra said less than 1% of the global workforce is on H-1B. So the business impact, as I said, on Indian IT companies is very manageable. But at a broad level, this reform is tough on the low-skill, low-pay roles.
All right, Rima, many thanks for those details. The U.S. State Department has said it will deny visas to 5 people, including former European Union Commissioner Thierry Breton. The Trump administration alleged that these 5 tried to pressurize American social media companies to censor opposing viewpoints. However, Breton rejected the claims, calling it a witch hunt. US officials describe Breton as a key architect of the EU's Digital Services Act, which requires stricter content moderation by online platforms. US President Donald Trump has claimed that his tariff policies drove the country's stronger than expected GDP growth in the third quarter. The country's GDP rose at an annualized rate of 4.3%, the fastest pace in 2 years. In a social media post, Trump wrote that the economic numbers will only get better. In a separate post, Trump said he would only consider candidates for Federal Reserve Chairman who agree with his views on interest rates. He wrote, and I quote, "I want my new Fed chairman to lower interest rates if the market is doing well, not destroy the market for no reason whatsoever," end of quote. And speaking of tariffs, the US government is set to increase tariffs on Chinese semiconductor imports from June 2027. In an overnight federal filing, officials said that the initial tariff rate on the imports will be 0 for 18 months. The delay in tariffs signals a cooling off in trade tensions between Beijing and Washington. Energy giant BP has agreed to sell 65% stake in Castrol to investment firm Stonepeak for $6 billion. The deal values the business at $10.1 billion, including debt. Post the deal, BP will retain a minority stake via a joint venture. Castrol India gained nearly 9% after the deal was announced, but ended the day at 2% in the green. Sonal Bhutra joins us now with all of those details. Sonal, take us through the contours of this deal.
It is a big deal which is announced because BP or British Petroleum has announced they will be selling 65% stake in Castrol to Stonepeak at an enterprise value of $10 billion. That is the enterprise value. The consideration here is $6 billion, which will include accelerated dividend payments and will be fully utilized to reduce net debt. The other things that will include $0.8 billion of prepayment of future dividend income over medium to short term, and also other adjustments that the company will have in its books. They add in their statement that a significant proportion of Castrol GV minority interests relate to Castrol India Limited, which is the listed entity, and the stock surged after that statement as well. And it is important because, remember, Castrol Limited holds 51% stake in Castrol India Limited. They say that there'll be a joint venture now where 35% will be with British Petroleum and 65% will be with Stonepeak, and they do not rule out any further stake sale as well. They indicate that following the 2-year lock-in period, they can actually sell the remaining 35% stake as well in Castrol Limited. So that is an important statement coming in. The transaction expected to complete by end of 2026, subject to regulatory approvals, and the minority interests include the stake that they have in India, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, and other jurisdictions as well. This is a release which is coming from BP and Castrol Limited. But from Bloomberg, we are also getting details that Stonepeak has announced tender offer to Castrol India holders, and it will tender the process after the main transaction gets over, that is the 65% stake sale. So Castrol India Limited remains in focus because of this big transaction that's happening at the parent front and will be on our radar as well.
So BP sells stake in Castrol. Thank you so much for those details, Sonal. Coal India ended in the green after the company's board gave an in-principle nod to list 2 of its subsidiaries. The company said that the proposed listing of Mahanadi Coalfields and Southeastern Coalfields is still awaiting regulatory approval. The announcement comes just days after the Coal Ministry advised Coal India to take concrete steps to ensure listing of its subsidiaries in FY27. Bharti Enterprises and PE giant Warburg Pincus will collectively pick up 49% stake in home appliances major Haier India. Reports have pegged the deal at around 15,000 crore rupees. China-based Haier Group will retain 49% stake post the transaction, while Haier India's management team will hold the remaining 2%. Promoters of luggage manufacturer VIP has completed the transfer of their stake to Multiples PE in a large block deal. 3.68 crore shares changed hands in 2 large transactions today. VIP's promoters had entered into an agreement this July to sell up to 32% stake to Multiples PE and others. The stock rallied close to 18% in trade. Mangalam Malu is here with all of those details. Mangalam?
Indeed, VIP was a big mover in today's trading session as 26% equity traded hands this morning, and it was understood that it was Dilip Piramal's family selling that 26% to Multiples. Why is that? Because remember, way back in July, the deal was announced where VIP Industries promoters would sell 32% stake 2 multiples and a bunch of others are 388 rupees per share. That after the first tranche of the deal was done with Dilip Piramal's family selling 6% stake to multiples. And then there was the mandatory open offer for which 26% money was supposed to be deposited by multiples in an escrow account. Once that amount was released and the entire open offer process was done, that left that 26% to be traded, and that's exactly what took place, where 26% of the Piramal family stake has now been transferred. So 26 plus 6, 32% as per the deal. The deal is now complete. What remains to be seen now is what is the turnaround plan for VIP by multiples. At the same time, look at what they are going to do in terms of aggressive competition, in the face of aggressive competition, and will they invest more money in VIP? The stock has been an underperformer and they've been losing not only money for shareholders but also in the marketplace. What brings back the glory days for VIP is something that the street will be eyeing.
All right, Mangalam, many thanks for those details. Now, the war between Russia and Ukraine rages on. Kiev has accused Russia of launching a massive overnight attack using over 600 drones and 30 missiles. The strikes have killed at least 3 people and caused widespread power cuts ahead of Christmas. Meanwhile, Russia said it hit Ukrainian energy facilities and other transport infrastructure used by the military. 3 people, including 2 police officers, were killed in an explosion in Moscow. According to Russian authorities, 2 traffic police saw a suspicious individual near a police car, and when they approached him, an explosive device was detonated. Officials have launched a criminal case to investigate the incident. Libya's army chief was killed when the private jet he was traveling in crashed shortly after takeoff. The plane crashed near Ankara in Turkey. The crash claimed the lives of all those on board, including 4 senior Libyan military officers and 3 crew members. According to officials, preliminary findings have ruled out sabotage and suggested technical malfunction. On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up, the survivor of the 2017 Unnao rape case, along with her mother, staged a protest at India Gate against the Delhi High Court's decision to grant bail to former BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar. More details on that in just a bit. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business 360. Amid the national capital's pollution crisis, the Delhi High Court has directed the GST Council to consider lowering or removing the GST on air purifiers at the earliest. This comes after a public interest litigation filed before the court sought to classify air purifiers as medical devices. The plea argued that they are essential and not luxury items. Currently, air purifiers face a GST of 18%. The plea seeks to reduce it to 5%, citing the right to life and clean air. The court will hear the case again on December 26th. Speaking at an event, Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari said that he develops a throat infection if he stays in Delhi for 2 days.
आज सबसे बड़ा राष्ट्रवाद कोई होगा उदय जी तो देश के इंपोर्ट को कम करना और एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाना क्या परिस्थिति बनी है हमारी मैं 2 दिन मुश्किल से रहता हूं इन्फेक्शन हो गया ये दिल्ली पूरा प्रदूषण से त्रस्त क्यों है मैं ट्रांसपोर्ट मंत्री हूं 40% हमारे कारण होता है
The 2017 Unnao rape survivor has said that she would move the Supreme Court against the Delhi High Court's decision to suspend the jail term of expelled BJP leader Kuldeep Sengar, currently serving life imprisonment. Speaking at India Gate, the survivor said the bail order has left her and her family shocked and terrified.
हमको न्याय चाहिए हम सरकार से यही गुहार लगा आपको रास्ते में क्यों उतारा सर पता नहीं क्यों उतार दिया रास्ते में हमको नहीं मालूम है कि हमको मरवाना चाहते हैं सिक्योरिटी वाले भी मिलके
आप मदर हैं आपने ऑर्डर के बाद
सर
आपकी लड़की कहाँ है
लड़की मेरी गाड़ी में सीआरपीएफ कैद करके ले गई सर हम आपसे कोर्ट से यही गुहार लगाना चाहते हैं कुलदीप सेंगर को बेल मिल चुकी है सर कुलदीप सेंगर को बेल मिल चुकी है उनकी बेल कैंसिल की जाए नहीं हम सब लोग अपनी जान दे देंगे घर नहीं जाएंगे वापस होके
Archana Solanki joins us now to break down the Delhi High Court order. Archana?
Well, Arundhati, the visuals that the entire country witnessed this morning have actually created a storm. A rape survivor being dragged and pulled away by cops. This happened after the Delhi High Court granted bail to former BJP MLA Kuldeep Sengar in the 2017 Unnao rape case after suspending his life sentence. Well, the case is about the kidnapping and rape of a 17-year-old girl in Uttar Pradesh's Unnao. The then-sitting BJP MLA Kuldeep Singh Sengar was convicted of the rape and was also found guilty in the death of the girl's father in judicial custody. The case came to light after the survivor attempted to set herself on fire outside Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's residence in April 2018, alleging the police had refused to register her case. Now, after the Delhi High Court's order yesterday, the survivor and her mother staged a protest at India Gate, during which they were first dragged and then detained by the police. The survivor has alleged that Kuldeep Singh Sengar has been released because of the upcoming elections. The Delhi High Court also directed Sengar not to come within a 5-kilometer radius of the survivor's house and not threaten her or her mother because there were concerns about their safety. The big question, why did the Delhi High Court grant him bail? The answer lies in the technicality of the POCSO Act, which is India's special law to protect children under the age of 18 from sexual assault and harassment. Now, Sengar was sentenced to life imprisonment in December 2019 by a Delhi trial court under Section 376(2) rape of the IPC and Section 5 and 6 of the POCSO Act for raping a minor. The case was probed by the CBI. The basis for releasing Sengar is the court's finding that the offence of aggravated penetrative sexual assault under the POCSO Act was not made out against him. Let me simplify. Section 5 of the POCSO Act defines the offence of aggravated penetrative sexual assault by an authority figure like a police officer or a member of the armed forces, basically somebody who's a public servant. The judges of the Delhi High Court said that this is not applicable in the present case as an MLA is not defined as a public servant and therefore cannot be sentenced for the remainder of his life or 20 years in this case as the punishment carries. The court also said that he has already served the minimum punishment of 7 years that a person can be given under Section 4 of the POCSO Act. As of November 2014, Sengar has spent around 7 years and 5 months in jail. Well, he's currently lodged in jail and will remain in jail as he's also serving a 10-year sentence in the custodial death case of the rape survivor's father. Her mother, the rape survivor's mother, has said that she will move to Supreme Court.
All right, Archana, thank you so much for taking us through all of those details. But moving on, it was a historic moment for India as the country's heaviest launch vehicle, popularly dubbed as Bahubali, has safely placed a massive 6.1-ton US satellite into the orbit. The rocket took off from Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. After a flight journey of about 15 minutes, the spacecraft Bluebird Block 2, riding piggyback on the rocket, got separated and reached its intended orbit. India has granted no objection certificate to two new airlines just days after the Indigo cancellation crisis left over 9 lakh passengers stranded across the country. Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu tweeted last night that 2 new airlines have been given the NOC, taking the total number to 3. But this is only the first step, and these proposed airlines have no aircraft and face a long road to take off. Madhya Mujawar is here to explain why. Madhya?
Well, 3 airlines getting new NOC. Let me clarify the aviation minister's recent tweet, because that has created the impression that multiple new airlines are set to enter Indian skies soon. But the reality on ground is far more complex. Getting a no objection certificate or NOC is just the first step and not a clearance to start flying. Let me explain what the minister's tweet really means and why launching an airline in India is extremely difficult. Over the last week, the minister says he met teams from Shank Air, Al Hind Air and Fly Express. And so far in 2024, 3 airlines have received NOCs. Kerala-based Air Kerala was the first one to get NOC in early 2024. Shank Air already has an NOC. Al Hind Air also had an NOC, but it registered as a separate entity for the airline and got a new NOC last week that the aviation minister was referring to in his tweet. Fly Express, based in South India, is the latest entrant to get an NOC. But an NOC does not mean that flights are imminent. These airlines are aiming, the airlines that got NOC in 2024 were aiming to start operations in mid-2025, but none has a confirmed launch timeline now. All three are still non-operational, and there's a reason for that. Paperwork alone doesn't get planes into the air. To actually launch operations, an airline needs aircraft and an air operator permit from the DGCA. And this is where most startups are getting stuck. One startup promoter has told CNBC TV 18 today that they spent over 30 crore rupees already on offices and hiring key post holders, but they're struggling to get aircraft. Why? That's the key question, because lessors, the promoter told us, are demanding around 100 crores as security deposit and proof of 500 crore rupees in their bank as guarantees. So what these startups are expecting from the government is some backing so that the lessors become more confident about leasing aircraft to Indian Airlines. Now remember, during the Go First bankruptcy, lessors had a long legal battle with banks and other stakeholders as no one was releasing the aircraft due to pending dues by the airline. So that explains why leasing to Indian Airlines becomes risky for them. So while the government's intent to encourage more airlines is clear, and India doesn't have a shortage of aspiring airlines, it has a shortage of aircraft access, capital and lessor confidence. So until those challenges are addressed, an NOC remains just a document and not a takeoff clearance.
All right, Madiha, thank you for clarifying what it means to start a new airline in India. But with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.